Hello everyone, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. Welcome to this initiative by the Legacy IAS where we are discussing the practice questions from the mains point of view. If you have not watched the other videos in this particular playlist, I want you to watch the first video where I have discussed what should be the introduction, what should be the body of the answer, and what should be the conclusion. So in this video, I have picked up two important questions from the GS3 paper, and it is bit linked to the current affairs, and let's discuss these questions in today's video. The first question says protectionism may be beneficial in the short term, but in the long term it hurts the economy. Okay, this is the question asked, and this will be for usually a 10-mark question. If we can talk about, I'll repeat the question again. We'll divide the question into different components. Protectionism, a very important keyword. I'm just underlining the keywords. May be beneficial in the short term, but in the long term, it hurts the economy. Okay, so the question itself gives you hints. The question gives you the hint like protectionism is good, but in the short term, but in the long term, protectionism hurts. So in order to answer this question, the prerequisite is you should be knowing what is protectionism. You should know what is protectionism. Okay, if you have gone through the newspapers from last one and a half years, and this will become a very familiar term. This would have become a very familiar term because protectionism was completely and very much used with respect to China and India. Okay, the economic policies followed by India and China were termed as protectionist, and also up to some extent we can say the USA's economy when Donald Trump was the prime minister. So under the prime ministership of the Donald Trump, even USA followed the policies of protectionism. Okay, so now we're talking about protectionism. So now it's time to understand what is protectionism. See, protectionism is a trade policy. Protectionism is a trade policy where a country starts limiting its imports and gives more importance to something called as import substitution. I'll repeat. Protectionism or the protectionism is a type of trade policy where a country wants to replace its imports by the domestic production, and this is called as import substitution, and this is called as protectionism. See, the country can disincentivize imports in a lot of ways. See, protectionism in the sense the country is disincentivizing its imports. Country doesn't want to import much. That is nothing but the protectionism. Okay, that might come in many different ways. One important ways or one very common way is increasing the customs or increasing the customs tax. Okay, so when the government increases the customs duty on its imports, so what will happen to the cost of the imported good? The cost of the imported good will increase. So as and when the cost of the imported good increases, it becomes uncompetitive or non-competitive in the domestic market, and this will give rise to reduction in its demand. So if its demand gets reduced, then the importer will not import it. Correct? So these policies are termed as protectionist policies or protectionism. This is a very common phenomena of increasing the customs. Second way of doing it is banning the imports. For example, the way USA did with respect to some of the electronics manufacturers in China. For example, we have Huawei, an electronic manufacturer in China, and USA said all the 5G equipment that the Huawei is manufacturing, USA will not import it, and none of the technological giants in the USA should use the components manufactured by Huawei in their 5G network. So this was the notification given out by the USA government when Donald Trump was the prime minister. And Donald Trump stressed more. See, I included China and India for a reason, because China is a communist country and there is no scope of private players, and everything will be owned by the state. and state can do whatever it wants. But with respect to India, India adopted this policy because India came out with a scheme called as Make in India project. Through Make in India, we aimed to achieve something called as import substitution. Whatever the imports that we are doing now, we didn't want to continue importing it. We wanted to produce that in India, and that is called as Make in India project. And Make in India gives rise, or Make in India gave rise to one more scheme that came out, or one more project that came out, that is Atmanirbhar Bharat. Atmanirbhar Bharat. So because of these policies that have included India also here, okay, as a protectionist, as a country which followed protectionist trade policy. Let's talk about USA. USA during the presidencyship of Donald Trump, when Donald Trump was the president of the USA. So Donald Trump came out with a policy called as America First policy. America First policy. So as a part of his America First policy, we can know that protectionist trade policies were in place in the America when Donald Trump was the president. So this is something to do with protectionism. So before we understand the analysis of the protectionism, let's look at what should be written. Arguments for protectionism. Why is protectionism good in the short term? National security, as we talked about the example of Hawaii, and the cyber crimes. Infant industries, if at all, the domestic industry is very nascent stage. The domestic industry is not at all prospering. Then having such policies of protectionist is really good for the domestic industry, saving jobs, which means so that the youth in that particular country gets more jobs compared to the foreigners. We have protectionist policies. Outsourcing, okay, and intellectual property protection, IP, intellectual property protection. These are some of the arguments for the protectionist policies, or any country which wants to follow protectionist policy. Okay, second, the arguments against the protectionism, trade agreements. For example, we have something called as FTAs, or free trade agreement. Free trade agreement. And we also have something called as customs union. For example, European Union. Okay, so whatever the good that is produced in let's say UK, France, Germany will not attract any of higher customs duties. There will be customs, but not to a great extent where you can follow the policies of protectionism. At the same time, if we have free trade agreements where it's a bilateral agreement where one country disagrees with the another country that our imports and exports will not be charged. Okay, we will not have any customs duty, and the imports and exports to these two countries will not attract the customs duties. So such agreements are called as FTAs, free trade agreements, and free trade agreements are a very great example of globalization. See, protectionism works exactly opposite to what is the concept of globalization. Correct? That is the reason why most of the countries don't prefer to use protectionism trade policies. Inflationary in nature. Inflationary in nature, because you will not have competition. When there is no competition, there is no growth. When there is no growth, there is no efficiency. Uncompetitive domestic industry, this is what I was talking about. When you don't allow the domestic industry to compete with the foreign industries, you will not have efficiency. When you don't have efficiency, then it becomes really difficult to enhance the productivity. Okay, so this was the first question about protectionism. Let's look at the second question. Digital technologies are transforming all the sectors of the economy and society in innumerable ways. Okay, digital technology is actually transforming all the sectors. That's what the first segment says. Discuss how far it can bring the transformation in the current state of the Indian agriculture system. How can the digital technology help to transform the Indian agriculture? Simple way of asking the question. Correct? First one, significance of digital technology in the agriculture industry. Where can it be used? See, digital technology can be used everywhere in the agriculture, starting from finance, starting from sowing seeds and then harvesting. It can be used everywhere, including the drone technology, AI, big data, machine learning. It can be used everywhere. Let's see, access to right information at the right time. Okay, access to information. Okay, what seeds should be sown, and what is the fertility of the soil, when can you expect monsoon, when can you harvest, should you harvest it or not, how about the market access. All these information becomes really easy to enable better planning and the execution of the policies, programs and the schemes for the government, to enhance efficiencies in the usage of resources, including land, water, seed. Okay, what is the type of the soil, and what is the moisture content, what what fertilizer should be used, what pesticide should be used, everything, every information will be available here. To give a fillip to R&D, research and development, and innovation in the agriculture through the access to high quality data, which means in order to have access to the research and development in the agriculture, having access to the digital technology is very much crucial. Issues and the adaptation of issues of the adoption of these technologies. What are the issues that the India has? See, the main problem that the India has is financial inclusion. We don't have financial inclusion. At the same time, we also have digital divide. Let's see the first one. Digital disruption is the double-edged sword. Digital disruption, which means if you have a radical shift from one technology to another technology, it becomes really difficult for the people to accept it. That is nothing but the digital disruption. For example, the demonetization was a kind of disruption for the entire economy. Okay, COVID-19 was a disruption for the entire world. Correct. Second one, lack of awareness, ignorance, okay, illiteracy, digital illiteracy. So all these are some of the examples for the issues of the adoption of technology. Reaction of the farmers against reforms. We saw this during the farm bill that were passed by the central government. There were three farms bill that were proposed by the central government, and all these three farms bills did not get the popular support, and people started protesting against these farm bills. Correct. So these are some of the reasons or the issues that we have with respect to the adoption of the digital technology in the agriculture. I hope you have liked the video. If you have liked the video, hit the like button and also subscribe to Legacy IAS Academy for more such interesting content. Have a nice day. Thank you.